Building orientation and elevation strategies for designing to maximize natural daylight and views. Welcome to Building Knowledge 101. In this video, we discuss the role that building orientation and elevation play in creating spaces that maximize the full potential of natural light and uninterrupted views.
So beginning a project, one of the first things you want to think about when you're talking about a good strategy for natural lighting and views is look at the orientation of the building. What elevations are going to be exposed to direct sunlight? What elevations are going to have sunlight coming from the side hitting the elevation? So to start with, looking at a north elevation, in the northern hemisphere, sun is all going to be to the south of us. So a north elevation is not going to have direct sunlight. So this is a great opportunity to really expand the amount of glass you're using, bring as much indirect natural light to the interior. So this enhances your ability to have views to the exterior, connect the interior space with the exterior space. If you notice in this photograph, as you move closer to the perimeter of the building, closer to the glazed elevation, all the fixtures get lower, and that is to prevent blocking people having a good view to the exterior. So anywhere toward the left where you're standing, you have a direct view to the exterior. So you have great connection of the interior space with the exterior space and very minimal interruption of your having a good view to the exterior. So this is a great strategy for trying to expand daylight and views on a north elevation. But when we're moving to other elevations, we have to deal with direct sunlight. North is not going to have it, but here you can see a photograph of a building. This is actually a medical facility in Florida. You can see we've got light coming through. So this is a southern elevation, but the architect was not afraid to go ahead and put again a large glass curtain wall there so they can expand the amount of natural light coming through and give patients and family members in the sitting area a nice direct view to the exterior. So on the curtain wall elevation here, they started out with good solar low E glass and then some shading. We're going to talk a little about shading in just a moment here. But the orientation to the sun on your project is going to have a big impact on the type of shading. You can see in this illustration during the summer, the sun is much higher in the sky. So it's coming more downward on an elevation. Yet in the winter, when the sun is lower, the sun is going to be coming in more at an angle from the sides. So you need to think about the orientation of your building and summer sun and winter sun and what your shading strategy should be. So in this illustration here, you can see the upper three shades are designed for southern elevations facing the south, where the sun is going to be more above you, shining downward. So this is showing shading strategies for when the sun is above you. The lower three illustrations show shading strategies on an east or west elevation where the sun's coming in at more of an angle, more from the side. So again, the orientation of the building is going to drive what type of shading strategies you have. So east-west elevations, you're going to have sunlight coming from the sides more so than above, and you might have to have a combination of both. Here's some illustrations of a punched opening and shading opportunities. You notice in the first one here, it's labeled ineffective because you have a set shade right above it, yet the sun is coming at an angle. So for part of the day, you're exposing the window to direct light. So one option would be extend your shading to either side further so that you cover the window, or add side shading like you see here. There's direct shading above and then side shading, and that very well covers the window there at all angles of the day. Here where you have ribbon lights, shading above it is going to cover majority of the windows, and only these end ones will partially miss the shading during the day. Here's an example of a project in Seattle, Washington. And notice that the shades are vertical. They're on the outside of the curtain wall running vertically. Because in Seattle, they were more concerned about sun in the mornings and the afternoons. So at western sky, the western sun, the sun is coming in very low at an angle. So their greatest shading opportunity was running vertical shades to stop the sun coming in at an angle. And I like this photograph. I borrowed this from USGBC's website where the lead scorecard is located because it's a great illustration of both top shading above windows and side shading. If you look at the pictures here, you can see all of these windows have great shading on them, and they've got shades above them and on the sides, giving excellent coverage to the windows below. So you've got great shading from a combination of shading above and below.
That is all we have time for in this video. If you'd like to watch more of our 101 video series, subscribe to our YouTube channel Kawneer Company, Inc.